Hello everyone, it's Donelle McAdams here with So Steady Live at 2 p.m. Pacific time. I kind of like to have fun with it, calling it Live at 5 because I'm on the eastern side of the country in Indiana, so I kind of call it Live at 5. But anyway, we've got some fun things to show you today. As you saw in the title, we are calling this Let's Get Mini, and the Mini is the Mini Templates. And so these are some designs that you can see that I have done with the Mini Templates. To give you some registration, this is a 3-inch square here. So I have done this on the diagonal and did my stitching so that I squared that off. And so now I have these on-point squares that are 3 inches side to side. So that gives you an idea of what they are sized like. So I'm going to start over here on the left. I've not pressed away my markings yet because I wanted you to see that those markings are made, and that one is a 6-point. And so most of the things we've been doing, we've been using the 8-point, and this is a 6-point here, and this happens to be what is called the Mini Crosshair ruler. And so this little mini, I'm going to move it up here so that you can see it. When I used it on the designs that you're seeing there, I actually stood it like this on here so that these markings went across this way. So it really doesn't matter. I could have went straight on there. In this case, I was following from corner to corner, and then the line goes from here to here. And when I mark that, I have sprayed my fabric twice with a starch alternative. And when I marked it, I actually used a fine line marker. And this is the Frixon Fine Liner. Comes in a lot of different colors because when you're working with something really small like these, you need to have some pretty fine lines to deal with. And what my recommendation is, I'm going to get this lined up so I could use it if I choose to. I make my marks from the outside to the middle. And this goes completely through, but I think this works better and keeps your lines registered in a better way. So that might be kind of light. You might not be able to see that. I'll get a darker one here so that you can see the next one. So that one is a 6-point design there. And so all of these that I'm showing you right here are 6-point. And this was the Mini Spin-E-Fex 2. And so I'm going to show you those. This is what the 2 looks like. And so we have 2 sizes. We have the larger one. Well, it's still only 2.5 inches when it's finished. And then we have the small one, which is 1.5 inches when it's finished. I want to get a dark, yeah, there we go. So I'll get a dark piece of fabric so you can see it much, much better. And so what I've got here is 2 options. We've got a gate on each end that you can open up. All right, so that is the one that we did, or we used to do this design. Now I'm going to do this as an 8-point in just a minute, so you'll see how it will overlap. But you can see how this came together there. This is the mini right here. That's the little tiny one. And so from side to side, that is only 1.5 inches. This one being 2.5. The next one over here is the number 5. And the number 5 looks like this. And I'm just going to pull this down here so that you can see it. And you can't get a real perspective when you're looking at this because 1/4 inch is coming out of that. And obviously you can use it with either your foot and needle right here, or you could use it with the foot and the needle at that end. So this is combined. That is using the large and the small in the same design with a 6-point. Now, if there was an 8-point, these would be closer together. And this is using it, I just did this down here because this outline is going to be my outline when I actually bind this. And so I did an 8-point with the mini. Obviously, when it's bound, you're not going to see beyond that right there. It's just going to be this top part. But I just wanted to give you some perspective and also have some fun with it.
Linda's got a great question for you. You mentioned the the fine liner Fix-On markers, are those heat erasable?
Yes,
well?
they are. And I do my fabric first. I press it with a starch alternative, whether that's Best Press or this one happens to be the one from June Taylor. I'm liking that pretty good too. It's called Starch Savvy. And so that was one that I used for this one right here. And so what I do is I spray my fabric once, press it dry, spray it a second time and press it dry, and then all of those lines will come right out. And they come in all different colors. And this is the new one that is the fine line marker. It's not a pen, it's not metal, it is a fine tip. Let me bring it right up here in front of the, let's see, where am I? There we go. You can see how fine that tip is at that point. So I'm really liking those because of the fact, especially when you're doing these little mini things, you need a fine line to work with. This is Spin-E-Fex number 4. Now, those of you that have our sampler set 1, this you'll notice is the same shape as the Spin-E-Fex 4 that you have. This just happens to be the mini. So this is the one that is 2.5 and 1.5. So here we have that mini. So you'll recognize this shape on either end of that. So that's the mini of Spin-E-Fex 4. This is the mini of Spin-E-Fex 6. And you can see here I've got 2 sizes in there. Remember, all of these are using the 6 point, not the 8 point. And so that gives me room in here to put these extra little small ones. But look at this pretty little design that you've got going on right there in the center. And so that's, again, one of the reasons I really like to have the finer line markers, because it keeps me lined up. And then this is the Spin-E-Fex 9. Now, if you look online and you go to Sew Steadies and look for the Spin-E-Fex minis, you're going to find that there are 4 different sets. When I got mine, they were like separate. They weren't like in sets. So I have some that are missing. They're ordered, but they didn't get here so I could show you them. But there are, I want to say 12 or maybe even 13 different ones that are in this set. So this happens to be number 9. The one that I have that I actually didn't make a design on here yet, I will in just a minute for you, is this one that is simply an oval. And this is Spin-E-Fex 1. So we have an oval that's a 2.5 and an oval that's a 1.5. And I'll tell you, I've been having a lot of fun with this one because you can actually do this oval and make it look like a chain that would go through a narrow, maybe even a 1-inch border. And so again, you've seen me do that before. I would draw a vertical line or a line that's parallel with your border, and then I would start and go around and go halfway, move my template, and then go on the opposite side first and go halfway, and that way I can keep that chain rolling. The thing that's so cool about this one is big piece, little piece, big piece, little piece. So I'll try to show you that here in a minute.
We have a lot of unbelievers on the pen and the starch. So can you again tell us how heavy do you spray the starch? Is one question. And then could we erase some lines? Because we've got some doubters out there that don't trust these pens. Okay,
well, and I understand that because there are a lot of horror stories out there. So if I'll turn my iron on here, and while I'm talking about it, my iron will get warmed up, and I'll show you how they erase. It's plugged in, I believe. Just turn this. For those of you that remember, I have my little, it's kind of like just a little TV tray sitting beside my machine, and I've got my wool mat and my little mini iron, which you'll see in a minute, that sits on the silicone iron mat, and I just haven't turned it on yet today. So anyway, the pens, this is just 3 of them. Now these are the markers, well, there's 4. These are the same thing in just the regular size. So this and this are the same color. This is a fine liner, and this is the one that's just a marker. So you can see, I'll pull that up there, you can see that that has a larger tip on it, so it's going to make a heavier line. This yellow works really great, as well as the lime green on blacks and browns and deep purples. It really does show up. So as far as the starch is concerned, this is the one that I've been using, Quilter's Starch Savvy from June Taylor. Again, I like breast press also, but this is one that we've been working with June Taylor. You've seen some of the Quilt As You Go projects that people have been showing you. I think Pam Varner did one just the other day, and I know Amelia did one, and even last Sunday, Stacy and her mom and her sister-in-law, Melissa, did one that was the wine carrier. So all of those have been from June Taylor. But this is their Starch Savvy, and it's the one that I have been using, and I sprayed it on here, not heavy, because this has a good spray nozzle on it, and it does a good mist over everything, and I spray that, and then I press it. And then I spray it again, and I press it again. I usually don't have any trouble if I just do one layer, but just for insurance, I do the second layer. And the reason why for that is because it puts a barrier between these markers and the surface of that fabric. You've actually sprayed a barrier, so this is not, the ink from these are not penetrating into the fabric. So all of these designs here, because I've already pressed those away, all of those lines are gone. There's no ghosting. There's nothing wrong there. But you can see this is a light design right down here, and I have not pressed that one away yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my small little pressing mat that slides right underneath here. So this is a pressing mat, and we are going to pull it over here to the side. And I'm going to get my little iron, and I'm just going to press over that, and you can see those lines are gone. I even got too close, and my outer edge that I'm working with is now gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler while we're here, because I want to make sure I still have that line, and I'm going to mark that line back in. So I'm going to take this and line this back up. I forgot that I was working with that as my outer line, and so that pressed away too. But just that easy, those press away. Now I'm going to tell you, try it yourself. Don't just trust me on it, but I've been doing this for literally about 2 years, because when I send kits out, I actually send them out pre-marked. So you can see there's still lines on this one, there's still lines on this one, and I'm just ironing those away. In fact, I didn't even get over that. The heat from the side went to it and marked it right away. So there's that line, and that's gone. So yes, it does work. And again, you know, test it out so you're not just taking my word for it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come to this middle one. And I'm going to take that Spin-E-Fex 4 that I haven't used.
Before you go on too far, there has been a question. What if you live in a cold environment and the lines come back?
They shouldn't come back either way.
Okay.
They should not come back because they did not penetrate into the fabric. If they do, obviously you're going to iron them again, and I would spritz them with that starch or simply water, and that will take it away. Because when you wash your laundry, your project, it's gone anyway. That takes it out. Any more questions? Good questions, and these are the things that I think people need to know so that they can do this with assurance that what they finish up with is going to look like what they want.
Lori wants to know, is there a difference between the markers and the pins?
Don't use the pens. That's a metal tip, and what happens on that is if you spray, you are going to, and I'll do it just to show it for you because I have one here that I use when I'm teaching classes. And so I'm coming down here to the bottom. This is the metal tip pen. When I mark that, you can probably see that it's not very dark, but I mark it again, and then I mark it, and then I get frustrated and I really mark it. And when I do that, even though I have sprayed on this, that metal has abraded right through that surface or barrier that I created. And so it's marked fine. But I would say, I'm going to just test it here, I don't know. There's still a little bit that's showing right there. So I don't know, maybe I can get it up here so you can see it. There's still a little bit of a white line, and that is because I pressed that so that it will end up tearing through that barrier, excuse me, that we created. So that's why I don't use the pens. I don't recommend the pens. Use them for writing a letter to Aunt Sally or something because they're great for that, but don't use them for this. All right, any other questions on that? All good questions.
There was one, and this kind of goes into what you're going to do next. Is it important to sketch a design before you stitch it?
No, but I will tell you that when I was playing with these to see what a 6-point looked like and what an 8 and whatever, I actually, and that's why I'm making this, so I can take this with me when I'm doing shows so that they can see the difference. I just stitch it out. It's almost faster to stitch these little minis out on a scrap of fabric than it is to draw them out. So you can do either one, but I will tell you this, stitching with the minis does kind of change your thinking just a little bit because you don't only get started and then it's time to turn something. So the more you actually practice this technique is you're going to become better at using the minis. So why I say that is rather than draw it, since they're not taking up a ton of fabric like something like this design does, because if I was just practicing this particular design, which you guys did with me a couple of weeks ago when I was teaching template quilting, when we did that design, that takes up a lot of fabric. That's about a 12-inch square there. And so that would be better to draw it out on fabric, or excuse me, draw it out on paper to get the hang of it, whereas these are just small, and I do think it gives you good practice the more you stitch them. Good question, though. All right, so this is an 8-point here that I'm going to do. And so what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to set it in there so that there's 2 coming out to the sides here, and there's 2 going north and south. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn it the same way as my square. So you can see the square under there, and I might as well do that so that I can actually look through and look at this. Right here, I've got the number 2 and the number 3. You might not be able to see it, but there's a number 2 and a number 3. Here and here. And I told you this is a 3-inch square, so all I have to do is line that up on there, and I know I've got it exactly where I want it. Now I'm going to use my darker marker, and you can see why I said just go to the center on each of these. It's just easier. And so I'm marking that. And I want to make sure these connect exactly in the center because I almost tried to turn a corner there. So right there's my center. All right. Now I'm using a variegated thread here. And let's see if I can pull this off and get it down here so you can see it. It's got some variegated greens and blues in it. And this one happens to be a 30 weight sulky thread. So I'm using the 30 weight sulky. It is cotton thread. With that 30 weight, I definitely need the needle size to be at least a 90, if not 100. I've had no problems with the 90. Now let's hope that that continues while we're on camera here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my template, and because I know I am doing the bigger one, I'm going to go ahead and set that right in there. And I think we're close enough that you can see I'm not setting it, the template, I'm moving to the middle there. And you can probably see right in there. I'm going to set the needle dead center, down, and then up. I've got my machine all set up for free motion. Actually, I've got it set up for ruler work. This one has a ruler work setting, which is awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and put that foot back down and that needle back down in place. Now on this particular one, shape is the same. So it really doesn't matter whether I start on this side or this side. It's all going to work the same. I am going to turn it around because I want you to be able to see me line that up right there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go around. I'm going to stop dead center. And in this case, if it was different, I would spin it, but I could have just pushed it up like that. And so I'm just watching my thread tails here because after a few minutes here we'll have had enough thread. We can probably just, or penetrations in the center, we can probably just cut them off. So I'm lining up that in the back.
The question has come around, are you using the same thread in the bobbin?
Actually, a great question. No, I am not. I appreciate you asking that. I am using a lighter weight, or you could say just a regular 40 or 50 weight. I believe the one I have in the bobbin is it's a polyester, and it is a glide thread. Yeah, so it is a finer weight. Now, when I do something that rotates around, I like to do the 4 northeast, south, and west because that kind of gives everything a stability. And then on this one, I could go and do these big ones, and I think that's what I'm going to do just so you can see what that looks like. Or I could have switched and done my small ones. Now, you're going to notice as I'm doing this, I'm looking behind here and lining up. There's my line, and I'm lining that right up with that. And I'm not really rotating my fabric. I'm only rotating my template. And we've got one more here to do. I'm going to come right around to that side. I'm going to pull this thread out of the way so I don't hit it coming back. And because I already have a bunch of penetrations there, I'm just going to do a couple stitches and then I'm just going to cut it. Now, why am I just doing that when I've shown you how to finish them off with tying and everything? It's because these designs in relationship to each other, they're covering up all of that in the center anyway. So that's what that design is going to look like. Now, since I've still got my iron hot, let's just press that off of there. And I don't want to do that on my mat, so I'm putting my board underneath there and pressing all those lines off. So you can see how easy and quick that is to do. I love the little overlaps and things in the center. And that was done just with one size. Now we could go and do the same thing with the smaller size. It would be very similar to this one right here because that's done with that Spin-E-Fex 4. But this one has the rounded edge. This is Spin-E-Fex 1 here. So any questions on that? Megan, if you want to hand me my Christmas table runner there, this would be a perfect one. I haven't finished mine yet, but this would be a perfect one to use the minis on because this is a 4-inch 4-patch right there. These are 4-inch square log cabins. So those would be perfect to come back in and do some of the minis in that. You could even use the 1.5 inch and have something really small in here. So a lot of fun. I've actually done some of the bigger templates, but this one is the, I used one of the Echo guides inside, so I got a smaller design. So many things that you can do. That's why the templates are so versatile, and the more you play, the more you're going to find that you can do different things.
There's a lot of ladies looking to get those pins. Where's the best place to get the pins?
Check first with your local quilt shop. As many of you know, I am a big proponent of supporting those local quilt stores. If not, they are available on my website, and you can get that information from some of the previous, or I'll just tell you, you can go to sobizmarion.com. But I do want you trying to get it from your local quilt store. And many times they're not understanding of the fact that these are even out there. You can tell them about them. You can tell them about putting the starch on and the fact, and you might run into somebody who's like, nope, I won't carry them. They damage the quilts. And it's like, okay, then I'll go to the next quilt store because I can trust me. I sell them like crazy, and at the shows they sell like crazy because when people understand that these are going to iron off and they're not going to cause any trouble because I've prepped my fabric, then they're going to be a whole lot more likely to use these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more of the minis, and I'm trying to think where I want to put it. I'll just put it right here, and I am going to do another 8-point. These come in a set of 3. This is the 8, this is the 6, and this is the 5. So the minis are great for a lot of different purposes, but if you can imagine doing these little 3-inch squares with that great big 12-inch crosshair square, that would be kind of hard. So these are one of those that, you know, when you're doing borders and smaller areas, this is great. And I can tell you that I've used some of my other templates and used the sides of them, like maybe one of the back-to-back templates that I just make a squiggle line that just keeps going, and then I go back and I place these minis in between. So it's like all I did was create a wavy line, and then on that wavy line I place the minis. So that's a lot of fun too, and you can get a lot of bang for your buck, so to speak, on that one.
Kathy wants to know how much are the mini rulers, and I know someone else asked, do they come in a set?
The mini templates, let me see, I think I've got my sleeve for them. This is what the packet that I had, this was the collection 1. And so that one has 3 templates in it. And again, I told you can go on and see what the collections, this has 1, 4, and 5 in it. And you can go on and see what the collections have. This one is a $44 set. And then we have the crosshairs. Let me get this out because I keep these also. I've got reference for them. But this is the crosshair set, and I want to say, I think they're around $35 or $40 for the mini rulers. I'm not sure, but this is the mini 5, 6, and 8-point set right here. I've had mine so long that it doesn't even have a price on it. So that is the set of minis there. So let's go over here and let's do that same thing again by lining up for our 8-point. On this one, I want to show you how I merge 2 of them. So I'm going to take this one, and again, I'm drawing from the center. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my crosshair squares because they save so much time and keep you so accurate. So you can see this one marked even better than that first one I did. So that's an 8-point, and I am going to take, I want to use number 2. So what did I do with number 2? Here it is. And this is number 2. So what I'm going to do with it, again, is the same thing in the center. This time I'm going to tie my threads because I know some of you haven't seen that. So what I'm going to do is go down and bring it back up, bring my foot up, and go underneath here. Now the thread is really short, and so for that reason I need to have these hockey stick looking tweezers that I can get right under there and pull that out. And I'm going to put this back down, needle down, and I'm going to pull this back out of the way, and I'm going to use the smaller side towards me and the farther side out. And so as you can see, you hardly get started before you're stopping. So again, I'm doing those 4 opposite ones. And now I'm going to come back and put the ones on the diagonal. Don't hesitate to ask questions. The last time I was on, which I can't even remember when that was now, but I will tell you, I really enjoyed the last 20 minutes was pretty much Q&A, and that was great because I know people have questions even about setting up their machines. So I've done all 8 of those, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to raise the needle, and I'm going to raise the foot, and I'm going to pull this out, and I'm simply snipping off that thread and snipping off the bottom thread. Now I can either bring these to the top or I can take them to the bottom. Now I'm going to choose to take them to the bottom, mainly for the fact that I think you can see back there easier because we don't have all of this. So I'm going to take all 3 of these, and this is a side threading needle. I'm going to put it right up there so you guys can see it. This is the Cinch side threading needles. They come in a package like this, and what I'm going to be doing is just pulling that side that has that opening on it and catching the threads. Now you might take 2 or 3 times to catch all of them. I've got 3 threads there. Got 2, got 3. Nope, there I've got 3. And all I'm going to do is go right back in to the center spot. I'm pulling that needle down to the back. So my threads, I lost 2 of them. How did that happen? I'm going right back through there. Well, I've never had that happen before.
Kathy thinks that last one reminds her of a poinsettia.
Yeah, it really does. And I'll pull these back so you can see it. You can see what that looks like there. And so I could even, do more embellishment, make that grow out just like we do our larger designs. I'm going to flip this over so that you can see right here. I've got all 4 of my threads, and I'm going to make a loop and pull it through. And when I do that, I'm going to use the point of my needle simply to hold this from making a knot where I don't want it. I want the knot to be about 1/4 of an inch away from the spot. So there's my knot. You can see right there it is, and there's the center. And that's what I want, because what I'm going to do is I'm going back through the center and bury my needle right in that area. So I'm buried in the fabric. I want to check to make sure it didn't come through to the front, which it didn't. And so now when I pull this, right now you're thinking, why didn't you cut those shorter? And that's the thing I'm thinking, is why didn't I cut those shorter? So this time I'm going to. We can wrap this up as all the knots to do's, right? So what I'm going to do is try her again. And it doesn't even have to be in the same place. It could be someplace different.
Peggy asked a great question. Those minis, do they still use the 1/4 inch foot, or do you have a special foot on?
No, they still use the same ruler work foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I got one more. And look there, I already saw that I've pulled it out. I really should get a smaller needle. I've got all these other sizes, but I like to use this one because I can show it to you in the picture and you can see it. But we got them now. So when I pull this, right there's my knot. And you're probably thinking, well, where's it going to go? Well, it's going to go right in the fabric, but I've got some little pieces sticking up. There we go. I don't know if you heard it pop or not, but I'm going to just cut this and cut this. And so now that's all nice and smooth there. And so when I go back to the back, this is what we have. You want to get my ironing mat, Megan, my pressing mat? And so what I'm going to do is I'm slipping my mat underneath here, pressing off those lines. And so that's the design you have. Now what I did that for is I want to show you this is the same design in 6-point, and that is 8-point. So you can see the overlaps there. So same design, 5 or 6-point and the 8-point. So I hope you can see the fun things that you can do with the minis. This again is a 3-inch square. This one down here is the small 1.5. That's the 1.5 of the template number 5. And these are 6-point drawings.
Regina had a question. Are there full versions of these same designs?
You mean bigger ones?
Yes.
Yes, most of these Spin-E-Fex have big brothers and big sisters. So like, for example, those of you that have the sampler set, you remember last week I showed you 6 different sizes of the Spinning Wheels 36. So they have the whole thing. Spin-E-Fex 4, the one that is in your sampler set 1, this is the small baby one. That's a Spin-E-Fex 4. So when you see this particular Spin-E-Fex, number 5, you can most likely Spin-E-Fex 5 in a bigger one too. Great question, because you could be doing some things with those and then also have these that would fill in the smaller areas, such as maybe a cornerstone or a small section that you wanted to use. And like I said, I'm going to go over to a piece of black fabric and change my thread, but I'm going to show you how I can use the one that I used right here to make that little chain. So if we don't have any more questions on the Spin-E-Fex, the little ones.
There was one, in the big ones, you have to use a pin. They noticed you didn't use any pins here.
Not all the Spin-E-Fex use a pen. So like the Spin-E-Fex 4 can, but it doesn't have to. So this one doesn't have a, let me look before I say that. It does not have a pinhole. This is the Spin-E-Fex 4 that we did here. It does not have a pinhole, and I do realize in the sampler set it does, but here it does not. So not all of these in the bigger sizes use that. You're actually rotating around your foot and your needle. And no, this is not a different foot. This is the same foot.
Peggy wants to know, are Spin-E-Fex the only ones that come in mini patterns?
Yes. Yes. They are the only ones that we have the minis for. At this point, you never know what might be down the road.
Could you use the minis with a larger set of templates?
I'm not sure with the larger crosshair grids. Is that what you're saying?
I think they want to know. Lillian is asking, is it possible to use the minis with another larger set of templates?
You can mix and match, yes, certainly. Oh yeah, no question about that.
And there was another question earlier about your thread when we were talking about that. The question was, what is the benefit of having different threads and different weights in the top and bottom?
Okay, in this case, again, a great question. The benefit is I really don't want to put a 30 weight thread in my bobbin. That's just me, because then your bobbin is not, it's basically not calibrated for 30 weight, because this thread is getting a little bit heavier. And the reason I wanted to use the 30 weight here is because I wanted it showing up more than just like that. You can see that's the back, and that looks fine. But this is a little bolder. Now, if you were wanting a very delicate look, then sure, you could use the 40 or 50 weight on both top and bottom. Good questions. Now I'm going to show you a feature of the machine I'm using and tell you a little bit about what I'm going to be doing in a week or so, actually a week from today. But the particular machine that I'm using has this lock on it, and so when I go to use my needle threader, I can't screw it up. And some of you know what I'm talking about. You've got a machine that's beautiful, but unfortunately the needle is not in cahoots with the needle threader. But on this one it has a lock, and if you watch, my needle and my foot are going to go to the exact position they need to, so that when I use the needle threader, it's always exactly the way it should be. And so before I go any farther, I have to turn that off. But look what the great side of this is. It does not, when I'm doing this, even though the foot went down, it does not engage the tension. So I can still pull my thread out to get started. It's only when I unlock the machine and then reset the foot, that now my tension is engaged and I can't pull that thread. So really a great thing. And I'm going to tell you, I am working on a Janome right now. It's the Continental M7. And next Saturday, I want all of you to join me at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, because I'm going to be teaching a class for Janome, and it is a project type class, but I will also be teaching basics. And we will be in the process of making this bag so that we will be able to use the Janome templates. And so some of you have made this a similar bag with me, so this is not anything new, but this is the Janome set of templates. You do not have to have this set to do this project. But I'm going to take my black fabric and show you again what we have here when we have this Janome set. Now the Janome set is a set that anybody with a high shank machine can use. Just because the word Janome is printed on the template does not mean you can't use it. This is designed by Leonie West, and this set is put together. This happens to be the Hearts of Plenty template. We have one that is called the Oval Clam Shell. This has 2 sides that you can do. We have, and I showed these a couple of weeks ago. This is a Spin-E-Fex 11. And again, that one comes in a mini, I believe. This is the Rnk template. This is their 3x8 ruler template that has the diagonals on it. And this is their one that's called Pointed Oval. And so those are the templates that are in the Janome set. And how do you get those? Contact a Janome sewing machine dealer. And again, anybody who has a high shank ruler foot or higher, maybe you have one of those that adjusts to even higher, you can join us for that class. 2 p.m. If you go over to the janomesewing.com, I think is what it is, you will see the information there. And if you want to join us, you can even log on there and purchase the kit for that class. The kits are made right here in Marion, put together, and you will have some wacky fabric options, and it'll tell you where to get those. So that's just my little commercial and invitation, because I want more people to just see more about templates. And so that's going to be held with Janome in conjunction with Sew Steady. So what I'm going to get now is I've pre-marked a piece of fabric. That's it, I believe. It's got, yep, that's it. And what I'm going to show you now, I'm going to set this right here so I can show you the individuals, is we have a little set of templates called the Minifills. And this is the Minifill collection. And each of the templates that you see pictured has 4 different sizes on it. So we have 5 templates with 4 sizes that you can do chevrons, you can do blocks, you can do clam shells, you can do all kinds of stuff on those. Oops, I told you something and then I forgot to do it. But anyway, I'm going to show you these templates, then I'm going to show you that linking that I was going to with the Minifills. But this particular one is Bricks. It's my name. It's called Mini Bricks. You can see all the different sizes. This one is called Mini Clam Shells 2. It's one that I'm going to show you all of them. And this is the Mini Zigzag. I call it Chevron, but you can see that you've got the zigzag there. You can actually create diamonds with that one too. This is Mini Clam Shells, so there's 2 sizes or 2 shapes of clam shells. And then this one is called Mini Tile. And so we can do some, almost looks like bricks, but they're more like a shape of, on the side, there's a, not straight.
We've got some questions about the Janome templates before you get too far. You had said that they're for high shank machines. If somebody's got a medium shank, can they use Janome templates?
I'm afraid to answer that. That would be one you should probably ask at Sew Steady. If you even write on this page where we're at right now, you could ask that question and they'll get the answer for you.
Okay, so Susan, we'll get back to you on that. Another Susan also asked, will they work with long arm?
On a long arm machine, I would say that if you have successfully used high shank in the past, you could definitely use these.
Colleen would like to know, why are the Janomes only for high shank?
The reason for that is all of their machines, the main ones that they're using, are all high shank. Now, I don't know. I'm going to try and find out, and I'll definitely know before next week if there's going to be a low shank version. Right now, I do not know that answer. Okay, great questions. Keep them coming. So what I'm going to show you right now is how I make this little chain with the simple oval. So I'm going to start with the biggest one. I'm going to put my foot down. I'm going to put my needle down, needle up, foot up, and pull up my thread. Now, this time that thread is long enough that I can pull it out. And I didn't change my bobbin, so it's still that green thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the oval. And since it's a template, I can go again. It'll be right on top of it. I'm going to set this underneath so I can just get it out of my way and not have to worry about it. And then this time, instead of doing the big one, I could do the little one. But what I'm going to do is 2 big and 1 little. So I'm going to go the opposite way this time. And I'm going to open up my gate. I'm going to take out my little gate there. I'm going to open up my other end. And before I close this up, put it around there. And now I'm going to do a small one. Now, since I did it twice on this side, I'm going to go twice on the left side. And the reason for that is our eyes like that better. So once you get going on this, you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's going to take forever. No, you know when to leave the gates out and when to put them back in. Because I didn't put this gate back in, now all I have to do is put it in, move it up, and I'm going to do 2 of these. Oops, I went the wrong direction. So I just change here and I go back. I move forward, I'm going this direction. And this is where I would change back to the small one. So I'm going to leave this out, take this out, put this in, and put another piece in. So I want to get that in there, and now I'm going to do a small one. Again, I went the wrong direction first, so I'm just going to change that. So you can see how we can do that to create this fun little chain along there. It wouldn't take nearly as long if you just kept going with the same size. So you would decide, do I want to go with the same size and keep going, or do I want to make it so I've got something different in there? So if I turn this sideways, you can see how that would go and fit. Now, if you're wondering, how would I know where I am and how this is going to work? Is it going to come right to, is it going to be the right length? This is 1 inch and 1/8 from here to here. So that's 1 inch and 1/8. So you would do some math. I hate to say that, but you would do a little bit of math, because if you say, okay, that's 1 inch and 1/8, that means 2 of them is, well, yeah, 1 inch or 2 inches and 1/4. So you're going to be able to decide how many of those and how I want to work that. So it just makes it easier once you've got something stitched out to figure out the math part.
Barb wants to know what the tape is you're using for your gates.
Okay, so this is a template here I was using. And what I'm going to show you is the Rnk tape. Now this happens to be embroidery perfection tape sold by many people in the industry because it's for in the hoop embroidery. And so this tape is actually twice this wide, but because these are mini templates, I cut the piece in half lengthwise so I could fit it on there. Now it would have fit, but it would have covered up all my lines, so that's why I cut it in half. On my regular size templates, I don't need to do that. But that's a great question. Why do I use this tape is probably some of you out there are thinking that. And the reason I use it is because, first of all, it has a good hold on it. And second of all, I can use it over and over and over. If you had Scotch tape across there, you would have pulled this out. Some of it would have stayed on, some would have come off, and it just gets frustrating. But I can use this probably for 6 months before I have to replace it. And that, again, depends on how much I use the templates, too. Good questions. Any others?
It's not a question, but it's funny and I need to share it.
Okay.
Marilyn said, yay for math. Elementary school teachers always tell us we're going to use it. Quilters, we use it every day.
Yes, and I can tell you, Megan, my daughter here who is helping me, she's a 4th grade teacher, and it's been my privilege to go in and show them quilts and talk about shapes and geometry and why learning how all of those things work together is important, even just for someone who is quilting. And, you know, it just really is a lot of fun to see their eyes light up when they see what a 9 patch is or something like that. Okay, I'm going to take my lint roller because I laid this over and I got some of my lines smeared a little bit that I already drew for you. So, remember I keep my lint rollers, one at each machine and one wherever I left it. So one of the designs happens to be this little brick design, okay? And so what I did here is I was just playing with it so you could see what it was. This is not the smallest one, but I've made lines here that are what I'm going to show you those particular designs on. But why would you want to have some mini fills? Well, first of all, on that one that I showed you that has 3-inch squares, you might just want to use a mini fill in one of those 3-inch squares. This is a cute little pattern, and if I had remembered I had it, I would have had one of these made for you because I know it's not going to take very long. But these are little, what they call, I don't even know how for sure to say that, Bada-boo bags maybe? It's by Tickle Grass Designs, and I picked this up in one of the stores that I actually was doing a class in. They're little tiny pouch type things. You can see here they've used a D-ring on it, and you can hold a lot of little fun things in that. You could have this actually hooked to your key ring so that you had maybe some change or whatever in it. But it's called Bitsy Box, and the piece that I'm quilting for that is 6 by 10, and then it's going to get cut even smaller. So I put together a piece of fabric, and I have fused it, and this is my lining fabric, which is not going to show on the front, but that's probably a way that you can see my little clam shells. So if you look at those little clam shells in relationship to my numbers here, you can see they're even smaller than 1 inch side to side. And so this is a simple little pattern, and I've done it. I'll pull it up here so you can see it better because I've got it in a little purple thread. It happens to be, believe it or not, this right here, but it doesn't show up quite that bright. But I'm going to show you how to do this. And you'll notice on here I have got what I call some honesty lines. And what this does is if you put these lines in every so often when you're working your way up, you'll know that you're not skewing a line and getting off track this way. So this particular design from here to here happens to be a 1/2 inch. So all I did was I marked the line right across here so when I start again, I'll be able to line that up. And then I just put this, and I started, and unfortunately I messed up and put 3/4, which will be fine. It's still going to tell me where I'm at. And then you could just put these every inch going up so that every other row you're going to have an honesty line to keep you going. But I want you to see, because I have printed one right here, I am just going to show you how I set this printed one. I have cut one out. This is the same size. This is the 6, and this is the 10. So I have this margin out here. And the beauty of that is when I get to the edge, I can work out here if I need to go someplace else to get lined back up. So having it just a little bit bigger is going to help you to work in what we call the margins. So even if I was doing straight line stitching, which I'm going to show you first, I'm going to get one of my straight edge templates here. Well, where did it go? I'll just use this one right here because it's got stable tape on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up 1/4 inch from this line right here. So when I set my foot down, that's going to line up right there. I'm going to put my needle in, and because I know that that's going to get cut off and I'm out in the margin, at least now I am going to use my spacing gauge These are normally clear. Mine is so you can see it on the screen. And you'll notice when I set that up against there, this is a 1/2 inch instead of a 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to, oh, you couldn't see that, could you? No, I guess you could. So I'm going to come down here at the bottom, and I'm going to measure that 1/2 inch, and I'm going to just go right across there. And when I pass that line, you can see I'm past it. I can just, as I say, dance in the margin. Because this is a bitty box, I am actually doing a 1/4 of an inch each time, spacing that. So here we go at our 1/4 of an inch. I don't have to cut off. I'm out there in the margin. I move over so that the edge is right on this line. But that means I'm a 1/2 inch apart here. And I'm going to come back. And this is the quilting. And I'm going to go in the margin. I'm going to move over. And you can see how easy that is to do mini quilting, even on the straight line. And this is for that little bitty box, so it's really going to be cute when it's finished like that. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this back this way, and we're going to show you how to do one of the scallops, and then we'll show you on that other black fabric how I work with the other templates. So right now, in this case, what I would want to do is I'm just dancing, or so to speak, up to the line there. And these scallops are going to go like our normal scallops do. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to come back down because I want to use that line. And I'm going to set that template there. But those of you that are familiar with working with this know, because it's happened to you, I'm sure, that somewhere along the line you put too much pressure on that stable tape and it clings and won't let you go anywhere. So I have this piece of 3 by 18. You can tell it's just scraps, but it's the same thickness as my quilt. So I'm simply going to take this and go under here. And set that down. So now that I have that, I have something that's not going to grab onto my green mat here. So that's my grid glider, and it's supposed to help us glide, and it does, but it is so liking of this that it would just grab on. So I'm going to go across. I'm going to move over. I'm going to go again. I'm going to move over. And you can see how these cute little minis look like our larger scallops. And this is going to work right out because I picked the right size and I'm coming right to that point. Now while I've got this here, I want to point out that that line right there, you can see that etched line, I can lay that right on there, and that's going to help me to line everything up. Now at this point, I'm going to go out in that margin again because the next one is only going to be a 1/2 size, so or a 1/2 of one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the line, and this just took me a little bit of time to figure out, and that's why I want to share it with you. Most of you remember that this right here is what lines up with the top of what we previously stitched. So I've got that right in that right spot. But right back here is a straight line that needs to line up on that side line. So I'm going to twist this so you can see that right now I've got that lined up. This is not lined up, so I'm going to push it up so that it is, and there's a little bit of a gap there, so I'm just going to stitch on my line. And now when I do this first one, I'm doing the half of one that I need to allow my scallops to build. And we're just going to be coming back this way. You can see right there, it lines up. I line this line up with the top. And once you get going on this, this is just kind of, I don't know, one of those projects that you just kind of have fun with in a small way. You can use these to fill in. You notice this is the smallest one. The other three are bigger. But you can use this to fill in backgrounds of maybe an embroidery that you've done that needs fill in the back, in the background of it. A lot of different ways we can use this. Now when I'm on this end, this is going to be the simple side to do each time, because all I do is I finish right on that line, which is dead center, and I move this up. This is lined up, and I'm ready to go back the other way. So when you're working with these, think of yourself kind of as a person in a little miniature world, so to speak. And so you're kind of looking at this in a much smaller area than what you would normally work with. I mean, obviously you're not going to take this and do this as the background fill on something big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop there so that you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this. But when I first got these templates, I was trying to use them this way. And that's just not going to work. I mean, obviously our wording's like this, but that's not going to work because we need to use these lines to line up and have these to build off of. Now, just because I want you to see what they look like, I'm going to do this. This would be the biggest one here. And so I'm going to set this edge right on my line. I'm going to set, just for reference, this edge right on top of what I finished. I'm going to go ahead and put my foot down. Move across, line up. This lines up back here. So I hope I haven't been doing a lullaby and putting you guys to sleep, because I know this is something that's really relaxing as you're doing it. Now, we would need to move up on the line or out in that margin. You can see how I'm just kind of moving up. I need to be able to put this line here on top. I need to have that side back there lined up. And now I'm going to come down and I'm going to move over. So you can see this one is a much larger, or not so much larger because it's not really much taller, but it is a bigger. Almost lined up the wrong line there.
So a lot of them are asking where they can get these templates. So I'm going to put this in the screen again. This is where you can get all of the Minifills. It's all one collection.
Yeah, and so it would be at any of your local quilt stores that are carrying these, or again, if you go to find a retailer on the website at Sew Steady, or again, get with me and I'll get you set up with these. So that is available in any of the low shank, high shank, long arm. Although I'm not sure how much a long arm would use this. I know that they do fill in small areas, so maybe that is something that they would be useful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to this piece that I have my lines on, and I'm going to show you the other patterns that are in there. So we'll just run through these pretty quick, and I'll pick just a different size each time. So we're going to show you the one that's called Clam Shells. And I'm going to do this one that is kind of tall. And again, I have this line that I'm lining up on, and this edge right here is going to line up that way. And I'm going to start right down here. And I'm not going to take the time to pull any threads up, but you're going to see how these work. Again, we're just moving over, lining up. I love how it just stops there. You don't have any choice. You can't go anywhere because that's just where it's at. So what I'm going to do so that we can make sure we get to see these, on this next one I'm going to call it the last one, and I'm going to stop right up there in the middle, and at this point I will raise up, line up, be sure you are checking out classes on the university also. We got some great plans coming for those classes. We've already got a ton of things on there. Some are free and some are ones you pay for. Now this next one is only going to be a half. And I'll move up. Slide over, move up. Well, actually not move up, move over. And for those of you that have not heard me say, I like to set my speed control at medium, and then I turn my foot pedal on the floor around to the back, and I simply floor it. And that's the way I can control, because I don't have to think about, you hear my machine runs at the same speed all the time, and that's because I just floor that foot control with my machine set on that medium speed. See, I just kind of get taken away with this, and here we go. We're doing 4 or 5 lines, but I think that'll give you a better idea of what this looks like. So I'll stop at that so that you can see how that pattern develops there. And that's just one size out of 4 there that I did, and that's just called Mini Clam Shells. Now the next one I'm going to show you is the Mini Zigzag, and so what I'm going to do with this, I can do this one either way because I can work down or I can work up. And so I'm going to take, we'll take the next to the smallest size here, and I'm going to line up the same way to start. So I'm going to come down here in the corner. I move over. Move over. And this is one that you have a ton of options because you can make this, like I said, look like diamonds. You can offset them, you can make them line up. So many options. So now that I'm down here, you can see I've got my chevron, and I hardly ever do that without thinking about Snoopy's outfit. It's not Snoopy, Peanuts. It's Peanuts' outfit. Charlie Brown. I'm so sorry. Too long, I guess, from reading those stories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up, and I'm going to stack these. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to test, is this where I want to be? No, I need to be just a little bit farther because I want to set them right on top there. So I'm going to come back down, and here we go again. I'm going across, I'm lining up this. And again, you could do this in multiple ways so that you could stack. And think of this as how you could do this, and then this could be a row that is then cut out with the template quilt method. So you would have a chevron of a different fabric right in there. So you can see how this could actually be cut out of that different color. All right, so that's one there. I'm going to cut that thread. So if you thought we were running out of ideas to show you, you can see that we obviously are not. And where's my others? I've already shown you this one. That was the one I did actually on the bag. I should have 2 more here somewhere.
Robbie would like to know why you turned your foot around, your foot pedal around.
Oh, great question. When I'm controlling speed, if I turn the foot control around, instead of the high side being like a gas pedal like this, I've turned it around so the high side is closest to me, which is the back, and then all I do is I take my foot, my toes, not even my foot, just my toes, and completely depress it to the floor. So that way it's never going to go any faster than the half speed, because that's what I've got it set at. Great question.
All right, Kathy, you wanted to see these again. So this is the Spin-E-Fex, what we started this lesson with.
And this is collection 1.
And then what Donelle's working on right now is the Minifills.
This is the Minifills. There's 5 templates with 4 different sizes on each one of those. So now the one I'm going to show you again could be done this way if you want to build down. I like to build up. So I'm going to go to this particular size. And again, I'm taking this cut right here and lining it on my margin line, because that's what I've drawn for being able to stitch out in the margin when I need to. And I'm lining this up right here. So I'm going to go across and back down, across and back down. If I wanted to, I could make some half bricks in here by starting there, moving this over, and making this come down. I'm going to keep these as whole bricks. Uh-oh, I got a brick and a half. Well, that's the way it goes. We're building a house, I guess. And you'll notice when I do that, whoa, there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up, and I want to get it so that this line is on that line. So now I can come back down. I don't need to go too far. Line this back up. Across, line up, back to the top, across, line up. This is where it's going to look different, which is okay, because I got a brick and a half in here. So that's going to finish there unless I move over and make it so that they're offset again. So you can see, and I'll show you the original, which was even bigger, how we did that. So I'm just going out in the margin and cut. And that's the little brick pattern that I was working with. This is the original one that I showed you to begin with. And that was done with this size. This one right here. So if I line this up here, you can see how with my extra 1/4 of an inch off how that was working and how those line up there. So that's the brick pattern. And then last but not least is the one they call tile. Now, not all of the one I just did is small like that or narrow, because this is the same template set right here. So since I've got a line right in here, I'm going to use that one to show you. And we'll come down this way this time just so you can see how that's done. So I'm going to set it right on the corner there with the needle in place. And I'm going to come down, across, back up, slide over. Now on this one, to work on that, I would need to come, and remember I'm out in the margin, And so what I want to do is I want to get this line lined up with the bottom, and this line out here, or this line right here, is going to be lined up with where I've finished on this edge. So it's right here, and I'm going to go across, and that's just all that gets done to that first one. And then I line this up, and you can see that is right in line with this. And this is where, when we started, someone asked me, do I draw these out or do I just practice them? Because these are so small, I think you gain more from practicing them than to draw them out. Now when you start creating, yes, you could draw designs on your paper with your stitching line disc, but I think when you're doing this, just knowing some of the things that I've told you regarding those lines that line up and this centerpiece make it so it's much easier. So like right here, I'm stopping right in line with that center, and then all I have to do is pull down this way, and you'll see now that's lined up with that. This is lined up with this one, and I'm just going back. So it's not hard at all. This happens to be one that I do need to show you at least 3 rows so you can get the pattern and see how that's working. And don't forget, if you get too close to an edge, because obviously many times you're working with a small project, that you simply want to get a scrap of your sandwich that is just an old sandwich that you don't need, and that will get you going. So you can see here, when I go ahead and just cut that, that's what our fill looks like. And so I'm going to turn it around the other way because some of you might like it better this way. So it's totally up to you which way you want to work it. You can stitch it either way. There are registration lines that allow you to match all of this stuff up, because obviously this is part of this row, not part of that row, but everything matches up. So do we have any more questions?
I don't think we've got any questions, but we have a whole lot of people who are excited about these templates now.
Great. I knew that we hadn't really shown the minis and the mini crosshairs and the mini Spin-E-Fex, and so that's why I thought, well, I think it would be a good time to show those, because many of us don't do all of the big quilting. We do a lot of the smaller quilting, and I know when I just finished that Christmas quilt that I showed you that's not finished, but I just finished that in an online class that was a mystery quilt, and when we got to the end, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is a perfect one to do the minis on. So that's one of the reasons I said, hey, I think I'd like to do a class on the minis. And so I'm glad you came along with us today so that you could see how those are used. Again, if you want to go on to the Find a Retailer or go to your local dealer and ask for these, you can tell them to get those in stock for you. If you want to give me the one that has the crosshair squares, the mini crosshairs, that would be a good one too. But all of these templates are useful, very useful. So I'm going to put this down here so you can see all 3 of those. And I know I've had a lot of people ask, or I've seen some of the conversations on the different Facebook pages that are talking about templates, and that is how do you store things. Well, you can see that each one of these I ended up having to get out of just a little Glad bag, because I keep these in a Glad bag. But what I do, and Megan, you want to get me one of my folders over there? I have these crates or cartons that you get that you store things in. Teachers use them all the time. And what I've got is the hanging file folders. So I just have hanging file folders. This is my curves, arcs, and waves. And I have the templates that are curves, arcs, and waves all down in this. Well, I got too much stuff on my tray here. All of my curves and my arcs and all of the wave things and whatever are in there. This is one that I've had a lot of fun with, playing with, and you can see that it's got the arcs, but it's also got a little bit of a curve at the bottom. And this is just called the 1-inch deep outside curve. And so we have tons and tons of templates. I want to know where they are and where I can get my hands on them easy. So what I do is I put them in these hanging file folders. If I get a new set, it's easy to add a new one and still keep it in alphabetical order. And this hangs in there, and I have each of the ones have this in a plastic bag so I can put those in there.
We got people in here who are going to now play the lottery or who need to get a new job because they need more money for all these templates.
I understand that. I can tell you, I totally understand that. And the thing that I will say too is this is very relaxing once you get started on it. And I could teach you guys for probably 3 months every single day, an hour and a half or 2 hours, and I could still be using maybe only 10 or 12 templates. So I want you to understand you don't have to have a ton, but obviously just like anything else, if you're one that works in the kitchen, you know kitchen tools save your life, and these templates are one of those things that make it so much fun to do. And I happen to be a crazy collector of them, and I have 2.5 crates filled now, I have to say, and some of them I haven't even put the stable tape on yet, so I've got to get busy. Are they laughing at me?
No, Kathy says it's cheaper than a therapist.
That's exactly right, you guys, and seriously, there's a lot to be said for that, especially during this time. I was making some masks last night, and I'm going to be making some more tonight because I heard a great statement that was said now that things are opening up, and I don't know where you live and how things are, but today was our first day in Indiana where people can get out more, and it was a beautiful day. But I was appalled as I drove around. I didn't go in any place. Trust me, I've not gone in any place today. But as I drove around, I saw people, no mask, no nothing. But I heard one of the, and it's Jeannie Plant in, she has a store in Texas, Richland Sewing Center, and last night I was watching her video where she was showing how to make a mask, and I would love to show you guys this sometime, so maybe I'll just, maybe in the next couple of days, put it on my Facebook page, which is so bad. Anyway, she has a very easy mask that you can make in less than 10 minutes. It's my favorite. It's so easy to do. But her comment was this, and I appreciate Jeannie for saying this. Most all of us are probably the people that are going to be the mask wearers, so we might as well have a wardrobe of them. So you've probably got tons of beautiful scraps. You might as well get one that you're going to wear with your jeans, and you might as well get one that you're going to wear with that great pair of capris that you have, or something to match your shoes or whatever, and they are so easy to and fast to make that you might as well have nice masks. And these are ones that fit. I wear glasses, and these are ones that fit up under your glasses and don't cause you, problems and whatever. And why I said all this is just to say this: keep sewing, keep filling your time with this fun that we're having, and go out when you feel it's safe. I'm going to be one of those mask wearers, and I hope you are too. So we must have another question. Oh, you want the 3 months of lessons. That would be great. I have a blast doing this. I always find that I learn something new each time when I'm prepping for you guys, and so that would be fun. And trust me, I am going to have some classes. I do have a new Facebook page myself, and it is called All Things Quilting and Sewing with Donelle McAdams. I would love for you to go on there, and it's definitely a good place to ask questions and get interaction. And I know that Donna McCauley has a page, and Kate has a page, and Susan has a page, and we all have our pages and the information, and we share. And I just want you to understand that there are a lot of us out there that are definitely willing to support you and to answer your questions. And I don't know if Susan is on here today from Mobile, Alabama, but Susan and I have never met, but we've FaceTimed, and we solved a problem probably in about 15 minutes that she might have been frustrated with. And I'm trying to think of the other lady that I've talked with, I think from Iowa. If you're on there, you can chime in. Maybe it's Mary, if I remember right. But I can tell you that we are ones that want to help you get sewing and quilting and enjoy what you're doing. And so I don't know, are there any other questions? No other questions? Hey, I want you to have a great weekend. And the Mother's Day special, don't forget, a week from tomorrow is Mother's Day. It doesn't matter whether you get it ordered today or next Saturday, but Mother's Day special is that you get with your table, you're going to get the free grid glider. And I just got a new one, and I use my old ones too, but I have like 3 machines I quilt on, so this is a brand new one. You can see how it's clean as far as it's pulling up. And this table is all custom cut. So when you order your tables, you are going to have yours custom cut for your machine. So all of this fits perfect. It's all flat and level. And you can either get the wish table, which is my preference. I will tell you, you're going to love it, because then you've got those holes over there that you can do circle sewing. You want to grab my circle sewing there, Megan, and I will show them that real quick, because that's something that you can go on to the university and take a class, or I'm going to be doing some of that on my Facebook page too. But this was all done with the circle sewing using your decorative stitches. And some of them you lay down a piece of fabric and cut the stitch a straight stitch and then cut out and then go back and use a decorative stitch. But this is just a placemat that has all of this fun on it. And you can even do ones, I don't have it here handy, but I have done quilting, like in this particular place here. I did some quilting with my templates, then laid down my fabric and applique around it. So there's a lot of things that you can do. That's where this circle sewing, these holes come in from your wish table, and then there's the sewing. I don't see it right handy here, but it's in my drawer. Yeah, Megan? I don't think I can get to it, but there's a piece that fits in here that allows you to do that circle sewing. So it's in my drawer there, but I've got so much stuff I can't even open my drawer right now because I just kind of filled it up while I was talking to you guys. And so that's how easy it is to put this mat on. So now I've got this straight across from the needle left and right and up and down. And so when I'm stitching a 1/4 of an inch seam, it's going to be accurate right here using that line. And so that mat, which is $25, comes free with the Mother's Day special. You're going to receive all of that in about 3 weeks because that's, like I said, they're all special ordered. Or you can get the large table and you'll get a free mat. But you don't get the holes and you don't get the drawer and you don't get all this other stuff. And so that's why I say I love my wish tables. So I'd encourage you again, support your local quilt store. And if there's ever a time that it's more important, it's right now. And so I want you to support your local quilt store, and most all of them may be closed at this point. Maybe they're opening up next week, but anyway, they're probably still doing business. You can give them a call, shoot them an email. They're probably still doing business, and you're going to be able to get that ordered. So I'll leave you with one last little funny if there's not any more questions. And I put this up today on my Facebook because it just dawned on me as I was looking, because tomorrow being Sunday, and I think this is like week 7 that we've not been able to go to church, but I just realized they are opening up churches before they're opening up the hair salons. Now, what kind of crazy person decided that? Because I can tell you, I'm not going to be going to church until I get my hair cut. So you're probably thinking, oh, she's such a vain person. Oh, no, 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 no. You don't know me at all. I have gray. I don't care. I don't color. But I sure as heck don't want to have this hair falling in my face like it is right now. So we're all in the same boat at this point. Some of you may have a hairstylist in your family, so you might have gotten a little bit of extra treatment, but most of us can't wait to either not only get our hair done, but nails. Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah. Well, hey, have a great weekend. Have a good Sunday.
Several of you are trying to get onto the new Facebook page, and there is a picture of Donelle there. It is all things quilting and sewing with Donelle McAdams.
Yeah, and it looks like this because there's another one that's called All Things Sewing and Quilting. But the picture that's on my header or my cover is this right here. Oh, not yet, she says. I know we designed it. It'll be on there soon. Okay. All righty. But my picture should be on there. I appreciate everybody helping.
Carol made the comment. I'm trying to find a link for it, but it's at the top of our title of here.
Oh, yeah. It's at the top of the title of this page, okay?
Thanks, Carol. I forgot I did that.
Yep. All righty. Hey, everyone. Enjoy your evening, what's left of it, or for some of you, enjoy your day because you got up early to watch this. Keep in touch. We'll be back, I believe it's on Tuesday night. And keep watching for the information as to what's going on because I'm not sure which night next week, but I'm going to show you how I can quilt large quilts with the weightless quilter. So for now, enjoy your weekend. And we'll see you again soon. Bye now.